I will start by saying I have very little knowledge of what I'm talking about, so it's the clueless talking to the clueless. I just wanted to go on about USB chargers and the current state of affairs, because for years the USB chargers were stuck at around 5 volts and 1.2 amps, which is about 6 watts, because power equals volts times amps. I say that in ignorance because I don't actually know if it's true they were stuck around that or things have changed. But over the last 5 years I feel that the power that chargers can do now have really went through the roof. I mean, I think laptops now can take power of 50 watts. You know, it'll be called things like fast charge or fast speed. But it just means probably more power's getting through, and also more data can probably get through faster as well. But just to give you a look at the current state, this is the best one I've got. It's 2 amps. Wait a minute, what have I got here? Yeah, 5 volts. I think that says 6 amps, 18 watts. It's worth looking at these. It's the output you're looking at. Output 5 volts, 2 amps, 10 watts, or 5 volts, 6 amps. So they can either turn up the voltage or turn up the ampage. In this case it's turning up the amps, 6 amps, and that would give me 30 watts actually. But I don't think I've ever, I don't know, I'm using it on a phone, I don't think I've ever got 30 watts out of it. I mean, 6 amps is a really big current in my opinion, but remember I'm clueless. So, but that just goes to show you the kind of power. I could get 30 watts out of this, but you've also got to take into consideration your cable and the device itself. If the device can do 30 watts at 6 amps and 5 volts, if it can, and this plug can as well, the cable also has to be able to do that as well. And I don't think I've got a cable that can currently take 6 amps. So, if there is anything weak in your chain, either cable, device or plug, it all goes back down, probably to the default 5 volts, 1.2 amps, which is 6 watts. So it's like snakes and ladders really. You get all the gear, but something, your cable or your charger or your device, something in it, probably the cable, can't deal with that sort of charge, sort of amount of power. It all goes back down to the default of around 5 volts, 1.2 amps, probably. So that's my best one. This one's pretty good as well. This one's 18 watts, I'm pretty sure. And that can take a Type C as well. This is another thing I want to talk about, the cables. This was the original Type A, and it was usually white or black inside, because this colour means something as well. That means I think this is the best I can get at the moment. It's USB 3, I think that blue means. There's 3 USB types, 1, 2 and 3. 1 is the default, it's been around for decades, 25 years, the original. And there's 2 physical types, there's Type A, Type B, Type C. This is Type A. Type A is the old original type, and you'll still get this usually on that side of the cord. Type B, this is Type B. It can go faster. It's been around for years, 20 years, Type B. And this is micro Type B. It's the type where it's not a rectangle, it's not symmetrical. You can usually feel the grooves in the back. And this is micro Type B. In Poundland and places like that, in the cheap shops, it'll often be called micro, just called micro USB, but I'm pretty sure it's almost always Type B. But this is to do with shape, and that's a type B shape. Sometimes you can't feel these grooves, but it is type B. And this is type C. This is a new type. It's probably been around for about 8 years, but it's still the new type. This is what you really want. Most new smartphones and laptops and tablets will have type C now. This one comes with a type A at the other end, but modern laptops are moving towards type C in both ends. This is type C at both sides. Most chargers still have the type A, but this one's got type C, so this is a newer one. And probably they'll all end up type C at both sides, but there's a lot, it takes years for these things to disappear like the type A. Probably will all end up wireless anyway, but for the next 10 years it'll probably all go towards type C. So this is to do with the physical shape of it. Type A, there's type C, and type B is the micro USB, the very common one at the moment. And then you've also got this, I think it's to do with speed, but I'm not actually sure. It could be to do with power as well. I think they've all to do with the amount of pins they're putting on. But there's 1, 2 and 3 for this. 1 is the oldest and the original. 3 is the best. Sometimes it's blue, I think sometimes it's red as well, so it's very confusing. This goes by colours. It'll be the colour to tell what sort of USB 1, 2 or 3 it is. White and black seems to be type 1, the original. So the best you want is probably blue with type C. But then you've got to also make sure that your device and your charger can cope with these. This can't take a type C and this, because it's type A. That's the physical thing. Type C is a physical. They don't match. You can buy connectors, but this might do away with this may default me back to 5 volts, 1.2 amps. Yeah, it's black, so probably that's doing away with any advantage I had. It's worthwhile getting a USB tester so that you can see if you're getting the best speeds and power out of your devices. You put this in line. Something like that. And it'll tell you your voltage and your current, your amps. But this one is outdated because 5 years ago it would have been alright. It can only deal with up to 7 volts. And nowadays things are going up to 12 volts. I don't know how many volts. Same with current, it can only go up to about 3 amps, I think. So now the current's going up 6 amps, 10 amps, I don't know. So this one's outdated, even though I bought it a year ago. I'll need to buy a new one. You could get one of these that can do up to say 30 volts or 10 amps. I'm just making these numbers up, by the way, you'll need to check. But you can get one from China for about £4. If you want to buy one in your own country, it'll probably be about £6. I'm talking about on eBay. But make sure it's future proofed, you know. This one's almost, it is alright for most things, but a lot of them are like laptops and smartphones now. It can do 10 watts, 20 watts, 30 watts, which might take 12 volts, which would be no use to this because it can only go up to 7 volts. So make sure your testers can test high. I would say about 30 volts. Maybe even higher now, I don't know. The laptops are going so quick with the charges. Another thing about chargers is make sure they're not splitting the amps, because sometimes you can buy these and they'll say, this one says it does 4.8 amps, but I think that's actually only 1.2 amp per socket. 1.2, 2.4, 3.6, 4.8. So you're only getting 1.2 amps out of this, even if you've only got one thing in it. So it's a bit deceiving. You want to know what each port is given, really. Because this one's given me, as I said, 6 amps and 5 volts, 30 watts maximum. But this one's really only giving me 1.2 amps, even though it says 4.8. So when you're buying these type where they've got more than one slot, you need to find out how much can each slot do. Sometimes it'll have one slot that says fast charge. That might be able to do more. But you're better just getting them if they can all do fast, I think. So I think this means USB 3. It's red. I think it's either red or blue, I don't know. It's confusing. It can take a type C as well. That's the old type A. So you get the idea, I hope. So it's a bit of a ramble. If it goes well, I'll do more research about it and do it better. See, it's doing the voltage at 3 different volts here. And it's even giving different amps as well. So it can do 12 volts, or it can do 3 amps. It can mix it up in 3 different ways. But I guess the default will still be at 1.2 amps. Okay, that's my ramble. I think I heard something that mobile phones might not give you chargers anymore, or even if they give you a charger, it'll just be a 1.2 amp 5 volt default. So even if you're getting a 30 watt tablet, it might just be 6 watt charger. So you need to check these sort of things. It's best to get a checker so that you can check in it all. And remember, the charger, the cable, the device have all got to be able to do whatever the device is saying. If there's anything in it, like the cable, can't handle it, it'll probably go down to 6 watts. So there you go. It's worth getting a good charger, getting a tester, and good cable.